5 most disturbing diving videos.
December 2019, 40-year-old Steven Weber Jr. and his girlfriend Kanisha Antoine went on a vacation to Pemba Island. Steven had been dating Kanisha for a while by this point and had planned to propose to her during this trip. What neither of them knew, however, was that the happiest trip of their lives was about to turn into an irreversible tragedy. The groundwork for this tragedy was laid when the two arrived at the island and checked in to stay at the Manta Resort just off the coast. It had a nice, uninterrupted view of the ocean, as well as a roof area to relax and enjoy the tropical weather. However, the most important feature of this resort was the underwater room, which offered a 360-degree view of the marine life surrounding the resort. This room served as the whole idea behind how Steven had planned to propose. He put on swimming goggles and dived down to one of the windows in this room, prompting Kanisha to begin recording. He then unrolled a paper note inside a Ziploc bag and pressed it against the window. It read, "I can't hold my breath long enough to tell you everything I love about you, but everything I love about you, I love more every day."
Very romantic.
He then flipped the note, and on the other side was a marriage proposal for Kanisha, reading, "Will you please be my wife?"
Oh, it's so cute.
That's cute.
What?
Wait, he's not gonna get eaten by a shark, is he? Wait. Yo, for a second I forgot that this is a horror video. Like, something bad is gonna happen.
He'd also showed the wedding ring he'd brought for this occasion before swimming up to hear Kanisha's response. At this point, Kanisha stopped recording and rushed to the surface floor, eager to give her answer. But once she looked outside, instead of a smiling Steven, she saw nothing. Steven was nowhere to be seen. Kanisha climbed the roof, hoping he might have been up there. Unfortunately, there were no signs of Steven anywhere.
Where did he go?
He had vanished, somewhere between showing her the ring and swimming up to the surface. After understanding the full gravity of the situation, Kanisha called for help, with several locals rushing to her aid. Unfortunately, it took some time to find Steven. He was floating in the water, and by that point, it was already too late.
Wait, it wouldn't have been that far down. Oh man, so wait, he drowned? He drowned. Jeez.
Some resort workers tried to revive him with CPR, however it wasn't effective. Steven had miscalculated how long he could hold his breath underwater and drowned before he could reach the surface. You can even see his hand shake.
Wait, how far down was he though? We weren't that far down. Like, that room is just slightly below. Like I'm thinking the floating room, and then you got the box underneath. So 1 story down, right? So like, what? He must have pretty much been like borderline nearly drowning at this point here. Do you know what I mean? And obviously because like the excitement of the proposal and all that. I don't know. Oh, that's horrible. That's sad.
As he holds the ring near the end of the video, his body desperately telling him he needs air now. But in an effort to get his point across and make the moment that much more special, he ignores this and unfortunately pays the ultimate price.
Damn, man.
Mini Joe is a YouTube channel that occasionally posted travel videos up until 3 years ago. Most of these were typical travel vlogs showcasing the hosts of different expeditions around the world. However, out of the roughly 30 videos they've uploaded, one stands out for just how disturbing it is. This video contains a collection of footage Joe and his friends captured while doing technical dives in the Blue Hole in Dahab, Egypt, which is often considered the deadliest diving spot in the world. There are a few conflicting reports on the total number, but most people agree that somewhere between 130 and 200 divers have met their end while trying to reach its depths.
Wow.
That is an average of 8 lives lost per year,
Jeez.
And unfortunately, the total is still going up. What's worse is that
that's nearly 1 just every month.
The remains of many victims are never recovered, which is exactly what made Mini Joe's video so unsettling. Their dive started off like any other, but as they descended deeper, they came across the tanks, lines, and suits of those who came before and never made it back. Some of the remains were wedged into narrow crevices on the ocean floor, hinting at what might have gone wrong for them. Most were also taken over by the environment, suggesting they might have been down there for years. Above all, these encounters served as a constant reminder of the true danger of technical diving. Divers often have to carry multiple heavy tanks before they can even begin the descent. Then, once they're in the water, they have to constantly monitor their oxygen levels while also staying aware of their surroundings. Things only become more dangerous the deeper they dive, where even a moment's distraction can quickly turn fatal. However, all of this is true for any dive, regardless of the location. What makes the Dahab Blue Hole even more dangerous is the false sense of security it provides. Blue holes, for those who don't know, are like vertical caves in oceans that go a lot deeper than the surrounding ocean floor. And the one in Dahab, Egypt is an even more extreme version of that. One of the biggest contributors to its deadliness is its depth of about 426 feet, or around 130 meters, which isn't very apparent from the surface.
Jeez.
It's also an almost vertical drop to the bottom. This catches many new divers off guard, causing them to miscalculate their gas levels and tragically become another name on the memorial near the diving site.
The thing is though, right? Like, if you know so many people dive in this location, why would you dive in this location? Is it purely the adrenaline? Like the excitement of like you wanting to do it and see why they died and be the one that don't? Yo, people are wild. People are crazy. People are crazy.
One of the most well-known cases of this is 22-year-old Yuri Lipsky, a Russian diving instructor with plenty of experience under his belt. However, he had no prior experience with the Dahab Blue Hole, resulting in it taking his life. The footage from his recovered diving camera showed him descending into the depths faster than expected, struggling to keep his gas levels in check, trying to quickly slow down his descent,
Thank you, Ultra, for the sub, dude.
causing the buoyancy device to burst, and eventually succumbing to nitrogen poisoning in just 4 minutes after starting his dive.
Jeez.
However, the sheer depth is only one part of this blue hole's danger. As Mini Joe's video demonstrated, the other part of its lethality comes from the network of partially collapsed caves littered throughout the area. They promise incredible views and look like prime diving spots at first glance.
Thank you,
but
Mars.
in all reality, they are deceptively difficult to navigate through. Narrow passages and jagged rocks are everywhere.
That's just
a single
terrifying.
mistake can leave a technical diver stuck in one of these caverns with no way out until their gas tanks inevitably run out. The terrain also makes recovery extremely difficult, and many families of the fallen often opt to just leave their loved ones down there so as not to endanger even more lives in recovery attempts. Which explains why Joe came across so many diving suits in his video.
What?
In July 2016, a diver named Jacob Childs went on a group diving trip off the coast of southeast Queensland, Australia. The boat stopped roughly 35 miles or about 56 kilometers off the coast, and Jacob was the second to last person to dive. However, a minute after entering the water, the diving line slipped out of his hand. He thought he could swim back to the boat and start over, but as he got closer, he was shocked to realize the rope had been pulled in. And before he could think of what to do next, a strong current swept the ocean's surface and separated him from the boat. To make matters worse, the captain of the boat also sped off to go fishing while everyone was diving. By the time the other divers got back to the boat and realized Jacob was missing, he was already completely out of their view, leaving him stranded in the middle of the ocean 35 miles from the nearest piece of land. That said, the distance from land was the least of Jacob's worries at that moment. For starters, the water around him was—
how far did it sweep him away for the boat not to be able to see him? Like, did it not have any, like, signal equipment or anything?
nearly 20 degrees Celsius, which is about 68 degrees Fahrenheit. This wasn't nearly cold enough to make him freeze up and pass out immediately, but it was cold enough to slowly sap away his body heat, making him more susceptible to hypothermia and exhaustion with every passing minute. It was also late in the afternoon, and the sun was about to go down, meaning it was only going to get worse. After a while, a rescue plane flew above him twice, but it didn't see him. And this was while it was still bright, and the inflatable indicator was visible from quite a distance.
Yo, that would be horrible. Like, you're stuck in the middle of the ocean and they can't see you.
He knew that once it got dark, his chances of being rescued would drop to almost zero.
That is terrifying.
The sun's going down. If the sun goes down, they won't do nothing. That's a wrap on old Jakey, I guess.
Yo, he seems very calm for this situation.
Unfortunately, there was nothing Jacob could do at that moment but wait and continue recording what possibly could be his last message to his family.
Josie just said, in what way is this horror? Okay, Josie. Let me take you on my boat, put an inflatable around you, and leave you in the middle of the ocean with no shore in sight, close to nighttime, and then let me know if it was terrifying. Let me know. Let me know if you had a great time or it was terrifying.
Identifying the right direction and then swimming for over 35 miles would have been next to impossible. If he had taken it upon himself to try and reach the coast, he would have likely exhausted himself and drowned partway through. He did try to follow a fishing boat he saw in the distance, but quickly realized that he wouldn't be able to get close enough to get its attention, leaving him feeling dejected.
It's way too far for me.
He's so calm. No, but the thing is, I feel like the plane that flown above him should see this orange thing sticking out the ocean, no? Like, the plane should have seen this. Right? Like, that would be quite clear. Surely.
It'd be like 15, 16 meters now.
Well, chat, spoiler alert. I think they're going to find him somehow because we're seeing this video. There's no way on earth if this guy drowned would have this footage. Like, we won't recover unless the body was floating with the cameras attached somehow.
Besides, swimming too far from his original location would have also reduced his chances of being saved, since rescue teams would no longer know where to look. As the sky got darker and the rescue plane failed to spawn on multiple times, the frustration was beginning to set in.
The plane just flying up.
Plane coming back. There's a rescue boat way over there. Helpful.
The salty seawater was also making him extremely dehydrated, worsening his chances of survival by the minute. However, Jacob was experienced enough to know that panicking or getting angry wouldn't do any good. The right thing to do was to stay put while exerting the least amount of effort. After drifting in the middle of nowhere for over 6 hours, he was finally spotted by a helicopter and brought to safety on a rescue boat.
Wow.
With the sun nearly below the horizon, he came dangerously close to losing his life that day.
Wow.
Fortunately, he was able to recover with no permanent injuries.
Jeez, bro.
On the 26th of May 2013, a group of 3 tugboats was trying to stabilize an oil tanker during a harsh storm nearly 20 miles or 32 kilometers off the coast of Nigeria. That's when one of the boats, named Jaskin 4, got hit by a massive rogue wave. This capsized the boat, causing it to sink rapidly and disappear below the water surface within seconds. The company behind this operation, West African Ventures, immediately sent off a rescue mission. However, the harsh weather made any immediate rescue efforts near impossible. They eventually sent a helicopter to look for any survivors who managed to swim back to the surface. Unfortunately, even after a full day of searching, they didn't find a single member of the Jaskin 4's crew who was still alive. This left the company with no choice but to presume the crew deceased and begin a body recovery diving mission instead. The task of retrieving their remains was handed down to 6 saturation divers who were laying underwater oil pipes nearby. The only reason they were chosen for the task was because they were the closest to the site of the incident. Still, it took them around a day to reach the site and begin looking for Jaskin 4. The harsh waves had shifted its position significantly from where it capsized, causing even more time lost before the retrieval mission could begin. Unfortunately, that was far from the only hurdle the rescue divers would face on this mission. Once they located the Jaskin 4 and dove down to it, they discovered that the boat had turned upside down. It was now resting on its primary mast, which could collapse at any time. Due to significant pirate activity in that area, all of the Jaskin 4's entrances were also locked shut, forcing the divers to use specialized underwater torches just to gain access. Sadly, their assumption turned out to be correct. By the afternoon of the 28th of May, 2 days after Jaskin 4 had sunk, the rescue team managed to recover the remains of 4 crew members,
all in there.
Though 2 were still missing. But just as all hope seemed lost, one of the divers named Tony Walker made an incredible discovery. For some context, Tony was being instructed on what to do by his supervisor Colby Verretts from the surface. Tony was also inhaling a gas mixture which was partially helium, making his voice higher. While looking around the upside-down boat, he came across what looked like a human hand. He assumed it belonged to yet another fallen crew member, but to his surprise, the hand moved and grabbed him back.
All right, so you should be walking on the ceiling, yeah?
Okay, you was asking if this was horror? I would shit myself. Bro, you're grabbing a hand, you think the person's dead, and you're rescuing the dead bodies, and the fucking hand moves and grabs you? Oh my... Shit! Mate!
Okay. What's that? Okay. All right, you found one, yeah? He's alive, he's alive.
How are they alive?
Okay, keep him there. All right, just, all right, just hold him there, okay? Just keep him there.
How are they alive?
Oh, I don't know what we're gonna do. All right, just keep him there and keep him calm, okay? All right, just reassure him, pat him on the shoulder. Okay.
Oh my god, he's in an air pocket in the ship. Wait, chat, how long was he in there like that for? 2 days? It was 2 days, right? 2 days? Jeez.
This was 29-year-old Harrison O'Kenny, Jaskin 4's resident cook. After over 60 hours underwater, Harrison was somehow still alive. He also seemed quite aware of everything that was going on around him and remained calm to help the rescuers do their job. Apparently, Harrison was in the bathroom when the boat capsized. He tried to rush to the emergency latch, but water rushed in and trapped the crew inside. To his knowledge, Harrison was the only one who managed to survive after creating a makeshift indoor raft from plywood, cardboard, and a mattress. After finding him, rescuers gave him fresh water and a harness to keep him close. However, the divers knew they didn't have much time to plan a proper rescue mission. You see, the air pocket Harrison was in was about to run out, likely in less than an hour.
Chat, when you guys get onto me all the time about how much I need the toilet, you never know. You never know when needing the toilet will save your life. I go toilet every half an hour. This guy went toilet, survived. What I'm trying to say, chat, is take after me and go toilet as much as you can.
Harrison could end up suffocating if they
save your
didn't act
life
quick enough. On the other hand, they couldn't just strap him into a rope and pull him back to the surface. He had already spent over 2.5 days in an extremely high-pressure environment. Taking him to the surface too quickly could have caused decompression sickness, which in extreme cases can also be lethal. Fortunately, due to their job of installing underwater oil pipes, the divers were uniquely equipped to deal with these exact issues. More specifically, they had a pressurized diving bell attached to the vessel, which they put Harrison in after consulting a doctor.
Okay.
Had this been a standard diving crew with regular scuba gear, they wouldn't have had anything to keep Harrison alive. Once back on the surface, he also had to spend some more time in a decompression chamber to avoid decompression sickness, and was fairly okay after that. However, while he recovered physically, the mental trauma of being trapped in an upside-down boat on the ocean floor for over 2 days with no idea if anyone was coming to save him left him with PTSD, something he is still recovering from to this day.
Yo, chat, I'm not gonna lie, right? When I was sat here thinking, why would the divers risk their lives? You know, when they do the body, like the body recoveries. If it seems like it's a bad situation, why would the divers like risk their life to like try and recover? Like they couldn't get into the ship's upside down, it could collapse. I was sat here thinking, like, it's impressive that they do risk their lives to do that, right? But now I see. They literally saved a life because there's a chance that someone could be alive in there. You never know. Like, you never know. Someone could be alive. Multiple people could be alive. Impressive. No, thanks so much for the tier 1. Thank you, dude.
On December 13, 2013, YouTuber Kodiak Thunder uploaded a video showing a near-death experience he had while diving. Unlike many other divers, Kodiak's motive wasn't to just dive as deep as he could or reach some underwater landmark. Instead, his diving sessions were more about catching fish and crustaceans by hand or with a spear gun. But while chasing a lobster, he swam too far into an underwater cave. He managed—
Yeah, I know that the whole point of recovery is to give families closures, and I get that. But you know when like it's a risky situation, because they said in that diving one that the boat was upside down and it could collapse, which sounds like you're going into what could be, you know, very, very, very risky, right? So you're therefore like risking 8 other people's lives to recover the bodies from that. But then again, if it's the saving of a life, then...
But while chasing a lobster, he swam too far into an underwater cave.
Risky business.
He managed to catch the lobster he was after, but when he turned around, he had no idea how to get out.
Well, get out the way you got back in, right? What do you mean you chased a lobster and got lost? What, is this like a special rare lobster worth millions of dollars? Oh my god. Oh my god.
Fortunately, after swimming around in the cave for a few minutes, he was able to find the exit and swim out without any trouble.
Wow.
However, this was incredibly lucky. The thing is, diving on its own is incredibly dangerous. A single distraction can quickly spiral into an irreversible tragedy. But unless they're very deep, divers at least have the option to—
Yo, why was he diving after a lobster into a place that you don't really know? Like you was chasing a lobster and got lost. That, honestly, the only thing that is playing in my mind is like the meme, ooh, piece of candy, ooh, piece of candy, ooh, piece of candy, ooh, piece of candy, ooh, and then you fall into a trap or something. Like, bro.
Just swim up to the surface and wait for rescue. Though, not with cave diving. One of the primary hazards in a cave is the environment itself. Unlike the open ocean, many underwater caves have floors covered in extremely fine silt. A poorly controlled fin kick, or even the exhaust bubbles from a regulator hitting the ceiling can dislodge this sediment. This creates a silt out, a condition where the water's visibility drops to absolute zero instantly. Divers' high-powered lights become useless, and in some extreme cases, the diver can't even see their own hands, let alone their surroundings. This also makes them unable to see their gauges or the guidelines. In short, they no longer know where they're going, where they're supposed to go, or whether they're getting the right gas mixture. At best, they can keep swimming and hope the cave is straight enough to eventually lead them away from the murky water. But if they can't monitor their gases, nitrogen poisoning can become a serious problem. It impairs both their cognitive and motor function, leaving them to take their final breaths in the cave unless someone is there to rescue them.
Jeez.
Even then, rescue isn't—
Bro, honestly, I don't understand it. Why would anyone want to do cave diving? Bro, cave exploring is scary itself. Never mind in the ocean, bro. It just sounds absolutely terrifying.
Always an option. Many underwater caves are extremely narrow, and with tanks and other essential gear, navigating these tight spaces becomes even harder. In most cases, there isn't even enough room to turn around, so if one diver passes out, the others can get trapped behind them and lose their lives there as well. One of the most well-known cases of this exact scenario happened on February 6, 2014, when a team of 5 Finnish cavers visited Norway to go cave diving through Plura Cave. All 5 of them were veteran cave divers and knew exactly what they were doing. They even had mapped out the exact route they planned to follow. However, as they were crossing the narrowest section of the cave, the cylinder of one of the divers got stuck, preventing him from moving forward and blocking the others behind him. The chaos of the situation resulted in 2 of the divers panicking, failing to monitor their gauges, and passing away within minutes.
Oh my god.
The other 3 barely made it out alive as well. One had to squeeze past the stuck diver by removing his gear and swimming the rest of the way, gasping for air from tiny pockets along the ceiling. The remaining 2 had to turn back and exit through the original entrance with almost no air left in their tanks. The fact that any of them made it out alive was nothing short of a miracle, highlighting the true horror of underwater cave diving. Because when things go even slightly wrong during a cave dive, even the most experienced and well-prepared divers can struggle to survive.
Wow. I do not need to worry about that because that is something I would never do. The only diving I'm doing is in a pool. Or the shore of the ocean. I ain't diving in no caves, bro. That's crazy. It's wild.